Hello and welcome back to Inspire DI, the unofficial Destination Imagination podcast for team managers. My name is Coach Kate. I am a team manager for many years and a former STEAM competitor. I'm really excited about today's podcast. We are going to talk about the whole purpose of DI, why we do it, and most importantly, the interference rule. What is and is not interference? This is a really tough question sometimes, so let's get into it. What's the point of DI? Why do we all want our children to participate in this activity? What makes it so great? For me, what makes it so great is this non-interference rule, because it is at the heart and spirit of what DI is about. Destination Imagination is meant to empower our kids. It gives them the opportunity to work out that creativity muscle. And just like any other muscle we have, you need to work out that creativity muscle. And the more you use it, the more creative you get. I don't believe that there are kids out there that are creative and kids out there that aren't. I think the kids that aren't creative are just ones that haven't had the opportunity to work out that creativity muscle. And how do we get there? We get there by giving them the opportunity to do it on their own. So our education system, the way we teach our kids now in school, even when it's a project-based activity, we give them a rubric of what they need to learn, what they need to include in their project. We tell them what the end point is supposed to look like, and we grade them critically on that end point if it matches or doesn't match exactly what we've asked them to do. DI turns that all on its head. So what DI does is we give them basically prompts. DI gives an outline with elements that each team should hit for each challenge. Depending on which challenge your team has chosen, that will determine how many technical elements they need to build, how important their story is, what characters they may or may not need to include, what needs to be accomplished. But these are very open-ended elements. The kids are asked to look at these, and the sky is the limit as to how they can solve these challenges. What DI puts in place is this non-interference rule. If you go on to the rules of the road, which is provided to every team when they register, they receive all of the challenges, and in addition, they receive the rules of the road and the road map. The road map, that's for you, DI team managers. Read that. Both of these documents are PDFs and they're searchable. So if you don't want to sit down and read 170 pages of Destination Imagination rules, you can search anytime a question comes up. So rules of the road is basically the framework for all of the rules that your kids need to follow in addition to what it says in the challenge. And these are questions that will come up throughout the season. No matter how many years I've been doing this, we always search rules of the road. And my team just did it last week. Another very important part of rules of the road is the section on interference. And what does interference mean? Where are we as parents or managers or coaches allowed to assist the children, and where are we not? So there's this wonderful pyramid that you'll see in the program paperwork that shows we are not allowed to give ideas. We are allowed to help with rules, help the children learn and remember what the rules are. Not only the rules of all of Destination Imagination in the rules of the road, but also the rules in the challenge. So we are allowed to help with that. We are allowed to remind them of what the rules are. We're allowed to remind them to go look back at the element that they're working on to make sure that they are meeting all of the rules and requirements of that element. Those are things we as managers are allowed to help with, and as parents are allowed to help with. We are also allowed to help teach them skills. For example, if you have a team member who has an idea to sew a costume, but they don't have a sewing machine, and even if they did, they don't know how to use it, they can say, I want to sew a costume. Can you teach me how to use the sewing machine? And I can say, yes, absolutely, I can teach you how to use the sewing machine. The way I would teach it, and the way that any other lesson in Destination Imagination should be taught for kids to learn skills, is on something completely separate from their presentation and from their solution. So what I would do would be to get my own fabric. So I'm teaching them how to use the sewing machine with completely different fabric that's not going to be included in their presentation, and that idea of what is being created is not going into their presentation. Once they have learned the skills of how to use the sewing machine, they can then get their fabric and use the sewing machine. So this is a skill they can learn. This is same with other things like woodworking. If they want to cut wood at a certain size, us as managers are not allowed to come in and cut it. It doesn't matter how little they are. That is interference. You may not cut the wood for them. These kids will run up against a lot of problems throughout the season, and you hope that they do, because that's where the real learning begins. And when they fail, they have to come up with a solution on their own. If they want to build a table, and they build a table and it's lopsided and it's not holding what they wanted to hold and it's falling over. If I give them a suggestion on how to make that table stronger, maybe they've learned a skill that if they want to build a strong table that I told them how to do it, but they didn't not use their creativity to solve the difficult problem. And I told them that they can't solve difficult problems is basically what I'm telling them if I don't let them solve it for themselves. So this is what it's all about. You want your team to be excited about what they made. You want your team to be proud of what they created. You want your team to be proud of the story that they come up with, that they want to present, that they're proud to bring to a challenge. You're going to have to bite the inside of your mouth sometimes if you are seeing the solution, if you are seeing a way for them to fix something or solve something or a little twist of the story that would be so much better if they just added it. Don't say it, because if you say it, they can't use it. So not only are you taking that opportunity away from them to come up with an idea on their own, you are also taking away that idea. So if they do come up with it separately on their own, they still can't use it because you already presented it to them. So if there was a chance they were going to get to that same idea as you presented to them, they can no longer use it because you provided it to them. So that's not fair to the team. What if our team read through the challenge, they get really excited, but then after a little while, they don't have an idea for one of the elements? How do we help them to get there? Well, there are things that they can do that are not interference that they're allowed to do. So what isn't interference? This is a really important thing to know too. What isn't interference? Inspiration. Inspiration is not interference. What can we use as inspiration to help spark some of these ideas? A great thing to do is search Destination Imagination Global Finals performances. Many of these that are posted are first, second, third place winners at the Global Finals of Destination Imagination. And it's a great way for your team just to see what a successful team does, what they've created, how much they've created. Make sure they kind of understand what the team they're watching is trying to do. At the beginning of every single performance in Destination Imagination, the appraisers, who are the judges, we call them appraisers in Destination Imagination, the appraisers will read a brief summary of what the team is expected to do so that the audience knows, what are we looking for? What is this that we're about to watch? So before every single Destination Imagination performance, this is how it goes. The team is ready, setting up on the side with all of their stuff. And the appraiser comes up and tells the audience, this is what you're looking for. So when you're watching a video of a Destination Imagination team performance from Global Finals, you will see that right in the beginning. So make sure your kids don't skip over that so that they know what they're looking for. But let them watch teams. Let them use that as inspiration. Ask them, what do you think they made that costume from? What do you think the backdrop is being held up with? What do you think they used to make the colors that you see? What do you think they used to make the sounds? What do you see that's really interesting in this presentation? Now, if you've got little ones and they're watching some of the high school presentations, some of these high school presentations have, it may be a full-on robotics team that has built these solutions, and that is possible. There are kids who are on robotics teams who are also in Destination Imagination, and you spot those kids right away in those videos because you see these mechanics. So you can also explain to your team, yes, that team built robots. other teams haven't. You can look for the elementary school teams to watch as well. Your teams will love it. They'll see all of these ideas as inspiration of what they can do. Can they look at those ideas and use them for their presentation? Absolutely. It's inspiration. And the difference between inspiration and giving an idea is that when you are watching a video on YouTube, the presentation on YouTube that you are seeing is not there to directly answer the question or to directly give you an idea of a solution to a problem. So, for example, say the challenge that your team is doing has to have an animal costume, and they go on YouTube and go and search for Destination Imagination Global Finals videos, and they see somebody made a bee costume. Can your team look at that costume and try to design exactly how they did it? Is that interference? They can absolutely do that. It is not interference. Why? They just got the entire idea from watching a video of another DI team. Why isn't that interference? Because they did not ask somebody, how can I build a bee costume? And someone walk them step by step. They are still going to have to, on their own, figure out what materials they're going to use. Even if they look at that costume that's on the video that shows certain materials were used, they don't know the exact materials. They don't know the exact fasteners. They don't know what they put together. So it's inspiration. Your team can do this with literally anything they find on the internet. In a later podcast, I am going to talk about AI in DI, and that's going to be a little bit different discussion about interference and AI. But ignoring AI for right now, if your team does a search and says, I want to make an animal costume, and searches that online, and images pop up of animal costumes or a video on YouTube of somebody building an animal costume, that is not interference. That is inspiration, and that is learning a skill. They're watching somebody else do it, but they are not asking that person for an idea on how to exactly create what they want to create, because they still need to bring in their own creativity, and it was their idea to make an animal costume and to search it. So this is could be a little complicated. So if you're not quite sure about what I mean here and what is interference and what isn't interference, what the difference between interference and inspiration, they cannot ask somebody directly a question. That is interference. Someone cannot give an idea directly to your students as to how to solve something, as to how to create something, or an idea of what to create. That is interference. We are here to help them with the rules. We are here to help them to know what they're supposed to do in terms of what the challenge is telling them to do. We are not here to give them ideas. It's not about winning. It's not about having the most perfect build. That's not what Destination Imagination is all about. And if you focus on the win, your children are just going to lose out on it. The best parts about Destination Imagination. Step back and you will be shocked at what they create. You will laugh with them all along the way. You'll cry with them when something crashes and something they've been working on breaks. But it is so rewarding to watch these kids and see what they come up with. They will shock you every time. It's a wonderful program to be a part of. I'm glad I got to be a part of it, and I still get to be a part of it with my current teams, and I will continue to be a part of it for as long as they let me, because it's really special. And if you follow these few simple guidelines, your team will see so much success. So that's all I got to say. I know I got a little excited here, but I just wanted to make sure that everyone understands the purpose of why we have this rule. If you have any questions about it, please reach out. I know I can ramble on sometimes, but I just want to be as helpful as possible. So please reach out if you have any specific questions as to your team. Again, if at a later podcast, I'll talk to you about asking questions to DIHQ. You are allowed a certain amount of questions every season to ask per team, to ask DIHQ a specific question if you need clarification on the rules or on your challenge. So we will talk about that. I will also talk about what is not interference when it comes to coaching instant challenges. So I think that might be our next podcast, will be instant challenges, and why that is a nice little loophole on teaching a lot of skills that you cannot introduce in the team challenge. With that said, thank you so much for listening. It was a blast talking about Destination Imagination, talking about interference, and all about this wonderful program and all the opportunities for great things that we are giving to our kids by letting them do this, and also the opportunities for us to be able to support them as team managers. So thank you. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this podcast and if you want more. Please feel free to reach out if you have any questions. Feel free to comment or shoot me an email, coachkatedi@gmail.com. Until next time, please remember, it is not your problem. See you soon. Bye-bye.